Greetings, humans. Zedbot 1496 here. Our vocal unit is undergoing a prolonged upgrade, so bear with us as we attempt to take a look at this past year. Both our favourite top 5 bits of human rectangular entertainment released in 2025, and our top 5 recommendations for your New Year's resolutions. That's a bit different for us. Well, it's also focused just on you Earthlings, unlike all our other Zoggplex content, and highly relevant to your, well, survival. But we'll get to that a bit later. First, regarding the human entertainment, we're going to assume you've already seen our reviews this year or seen the content itself. And if not, we will still avoid spoilers, and we think you'll still be able to catch on. So, coming in at number 5 on our list is the 4K UHD disc release of 1981's Outland. This is High Noon in space with Sean Connery, so what's not to like? But, more than that, the lingering impression is the character study of both the hero and the feckless townsfolk who simply bow to the powers that be, regardless of their stated principles. This is, of course, relevant to Earth today, but also serves as a timeless and important reminder of what principles actually mean. This actually goes a step further than High Noon itself, in that we see Connery's Marshall O'Neill actually grapple with the decision. He is representing us, the audience, in a very realistic way, as we see the pressures taking effect on him. All that, and some fun outer space practical effects that look gorgeous for the first time since, well, 1981. It's a gritty, unsanitized sci-fi action movie with something to say. And you can't argue with that. Now, at number 4 is the 4K UHD release of 1998's Dark City. The film is Brazil jacked into the Matrix while stabbing a Blade Runner through its hand. It's all of our favourite things mashed up before the Matrix even came out. But what sets this film apart is the introspection by Rufus Sewell's protagonist, who, through the operation of the sci-fi fantasy story, comes to question the validity of his own memories, and takes that a step further to evaluate whether he should let that define him. This is, of course, the centre of Blade Runner. But unlike that film, this is more directly questioned and unravelled here. The ability to essentially switch the channel and redefine who you are is a magnificent call-out to make, especially in a galaxy where few beings are pure good or pure evil. This honest look inward is rare in a medium overwhelmed with Joseph Campbell's monomyth, which is anything but that in reality. And again, all wrapped up in a macabre, creepy, surreal, dark city. Mwah! Chef's kiss. And now, I want to talk to you about ducts. That's right, number 3 is the 4K UHD disc release of 1986's Brazil. Sensing a trend here, perhaps? Brazil is George Orwell's 1984 meets Monty Python and the Holy Grail with slices of the Dark Crystal. Unlike the 1984 film adaptation of 1984, Brazil selects the right elements of whimsy and charm in the form of Jonathan Pryce to lead us through the 1984 story without making you jump out the airlock. Plus, being made closer to modern times, the film can more naturally lock onto the more realistic social and emotional pull of totalitarianism as humans experience it, both from the perspective of 1986 and, weirdly, even more effectively in 2025. It's not just on-the-nose totalitarianism, but the illusion of choice within conformity, beauty culture elevated to the highest ideal, and the bureaucratic automation of all life. But it's the theme that sets the film apart, even from 1984 itself. Sam stands firm in his resistance, even if he's alone, and even if his only escape is fantasy. It's on the one hand bleak, yes, we'll grant you that, but the world of Brazil cannot breach the protection circuit of his active imagination. If that's the only reprieve we have, then that's better than the alternative of caving in to the machine. Okay, that is bleak, but it means we still have agency, even in a small way, over our lives. Coming in at number 2 is Guillermo del Toro's theatrical release of Frankenstein. See, we are looking at current releases. They're not all over-processed, over-marketed pap that have no lasting value or anything to say. Frankenstein is the opposite of that, and it's a genuine revelation. Now, of course, it's the 424th film and TV adaptation of Mary Shelley's 1815 novel, but it also does something new and wondrous with the breadcrumbs she left us. Oscar Isaac is truly compelling as Victor Frankenstein, if not a little too compelling, so much so that his abusive behavior nearly had us walk out of the theater. We have seen the sins of the father revisited on the son many more times than just 424. However, what the film does with it from there, with Jacob Elordi's performance as the creature, brings a level of connection we didn't think possible in this story, which tells us something about the ability of sensitive beings to connect with one another. And we were astounded, as was the entire audience of the packed theatre we saw the film in, who broke out in spontaneous, emotional applause as the credits rolled. We joined right in, with even a little unplanned lubrication flowing out of our optical sensor. It was incredible. We fervently hope a 4K HDR disc of this gets released, since the next Netflix version looks pretty washed out and cropped for 16:9 viewing. The cinema version is breathtaking in deep color and epic scale. So wait, if that's what we think of our number 2 choice, what could possibly be number 1? Well, the answer is Season 2 of Andor. This is not just the best Star Wars since the original trilogy, it's the best human television show we have ever seen. Well, it's potentially tied with the original Star Trek and the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, but certainly not below either of them. So how is this possible? This show is the most anti-fascist expression in this century. It is articulate, realistic, and entirely character-driven. It is palpable, plausible, and utterly gripping from start to finish. But above all of that, the show is deeply emotional. This is something Star Wars has lost since the credits rolled on Jedi, in presenting characters we genuinely care about, doing things we can understand and relate to, and gives us the sense that we are not alone in what we are seeing and feeling. Show creator Tony Gilroy is showing us we are not alone, we are not a minority of one, and unlike 1984, Brazil, Dark City, and all the dystopic visions of the future, he shows us that there is in fact one way out, that we have friends everywhere, and that rebellions really are built on hope. This show is a masterpiece of storytelling. Now, we also enjoyed several other bits of content. Honorable mentions go out for Alien 3, The Legacy Cut, fan edit, yes. Murderbot Season 1, early in the year. Brad Pitt, the movie, technically not a sci-fi or fantasy film, but it's totally a fantasy film. K-pop Demon Hunters, yes, really. And the Tron and Tron Legacy 4K UHD disc releases. We won't discuss Alien Earth. Okay. Now then. With Andor being our favorite piece of human content in 2025, it is extremely timely for it to come out and support our efforts on your behalf. As we disclosed in our review of Foundation Season 3, which we also won't talk about, Earth is an ideal location for a new node in the Zoggplex spacefolding network. Your planet is under review by the Sagittarius Arm Zoning Committee, and we are the main expert witness providing testimony at their meetings on Earth art and culture. There is a clause in the Galactic Charter that gives cultures of merit immunity from eminent domain claims. So, we are doing our best to make that case for you, but you as a species are not making our job easy. We would, therefore, like to propose 5 New Year's resolutions, according to your customs, to help make the case for the validity of Earth as a civilization. Number 5 is obvious. Humans, change your locks. Don't just remove the fascists from power, but upgrade the security of your governments that could so easily be taken over. Solidify your norms into laws. Amend your constitutions. Change the system so tribalism doesn't overwhelm the separation of powers. We realize you can't do this overnight, but opposition forces should start campaigning on this point. Not just about what's wrong with the fascists. Human voters and the Sagittarius Zoning Committee alike need to see you understand what's failed here. Not bad people per se, but weak systems, complacent systems that cannot stand up to unbridled selfishness. Now, number 4, daylight savings time. Spring forward, fall back, just get rid of it already. The galaxy has enough different times going on. We don't need to factor in one more adjustment. Plus, it's just ridiculous for you to have it. Makes you look like you can't run anything. Third, or number 3, or C, British accent users should stop adding an R sound in between words that don't have an R in them. And within words themselves, like drawings. It's not drawings. If you need to pronounce R's so badly, then pronounce the ones that are already there. Don't go making up R's to deal with your R deficit. Just learn to speak English properly already. It's your own language. You should know better. Number 2. Americans need to stop calling American football, football. The rest of your planet calls football, football, and their sport football makes more sense for it to be called football, since the ball is propelled by feet. Your sport barely involves a foot and a ball. For this one, we have a suggestion. Call it Madden Ball, after John Madden. You already associate this apparently legendary coach with the game, since his name is part of the title of the official video game of the sport. As a consequence, humans already call the video game Madden. So, you can then apply that familiarity back to the actual sport. Plus, there's a secondary meaning, which is that playing the sport gives players brain damage, maddening them. And there's even a tertiary meaning in that one player was ostracized for expressing solidarity with victims of racial violence by bending his knee, a solemn, deferential gesture. He was banned from the league. That's maddening. So it's a very appropriate name for this inane sport. And finally, the number one thing humans should do is name your moon. You can't just call it moon. That's idiotic and arrogant. Just give it a name. In science fiction stories, you sometimes call it Luna, which is moon in Latin, a dead language, which we suppose is a little better. But still, just give it a name. And be less idiotic and arrogant. We know you have it in you because you have really good stories as well. Go on. Give it a shot. Anyway, let's try to make some self-improvements in 2026. It's really important for you all to get your act together so that you don't get manifest destinied off your own planet. We made it funny. But seriously, we know there's at least a percentage of you who can create and appreciate extraordinary and expressive art. We're rooting for you. And so concludes this human version of our editorial. If you have feedback on it, please write in your own comments so that we can upload the galactic version to Zoggplex. Anyway, you can expect more discussions and reviews of theatrical movies, streaming shows, and 4K home video releases as we continue to engage with your human rectangular entertainment. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you can, please comment so that we can continue to have the human voice reflected in the cosmos. Until next time, farewell, humans.